What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to the brother Brendan Olson for the $15 donation via the Cash App. Salute to you for showing love once again to Too Raw for TV. He has another excellent video, what if scenario. Now, of course, all of these scenarios are, give me 1 second here. Call that person back. Of course, all these scenarios are great video ideas, and obviously, too, there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to these situations. But at the end of the day, it's just fun. So he asked me what I think would have happened if, for some reason, the Denver Nuggets chose to go with Dwayne Wade in the 2003 NBA draft over Carmelo Anthony. Now, of course, the two most heavily touted prospects for the 2003 NBA draft were LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony had led the Syracuse collegiate team to a national championship in 2003. And LeBron James, just off the strength of his high school basketball games, which was drawing huge ratings on ESPN, was the most heavily touted rookie or soon-to-be rookie or prospect, I guess I should say, to come into the NBA draft in this history. Now, one of the reasons why I think this situation is plausible is because despite what I just said, for some reason, the Detroit Pistons, who had the second pick in that draft, chose Darko Milicic, who was so off the radar, it just blew everybody's mind. Like, why would they do that? It made no sense why they would pick, off the strength of a workout, as they claim, Darko Milicic over Carmelo Anthony. And history has shown that, you know, there have been quite a few situations where the NBA shows its hand quite a few times that it's rigged. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Luka Doncic, going to the Lakers in a trade that just didn't make any sense as far as the Dallas Mavericks are concerned. Then, miraculously, Dallas gets the first overall pick, as I said they would, at least in confidant to people who I know. Dallas got the first overall pick, and they were able to basically replace their savior with a hopeful another savior with Cooper Flag. But anyway, let's get to the point, all right, in this video. How would Dwayne Wade's career stats and accolades look in comparison to real life? Well, I believe if he was drafted by the Denver Nuggets, as opposed to the Miami Heat, he would have had less help on those teams. Remember that year before Carmelo went to the Nuggets, they were 17-65. I think Miami was like 25-57 before Wade got there. So they were a bad team, but he had a little bit more help. He had guys like Eddie Jones, Lamar Odom, Caron Butler were there. With the Nuggets, he didn't really have a guy who was a great one-on-one scorer who could help him offensively. So I think in real life, Wade averaged around 16 points a game his rookie year. I think if Wade played with Denver, I'd give him a good 22 points a game, maybe about 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.5, 1.6 steals. I think his shooting percentage would be down a little bit, maybe around 44%. 3-point percentage would never be great, 28, 27%. He wouldn't have shot threes very well, as he did in real life. He just wasn't a great 3-point shooter. But I think he would have been more productive offensively. His assists would have probably went down a little bit because I don't think he would play point guard. I think he would play a shooting guard, so his assist numbers would be down a little bit. When he was with Miami initially, he was a point guard. But in Wade's second year, he made that huge jump from 16 points a game to 24 points per game. I think from an individual standpoint, Wade's numbers look better in Denver. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a 3-year stretch where he leads the league in scoring in Denver. That being probably 2008, 2009, and 2010. In reality, in 2008, I think it was LeBron led the league in scoring. 2009, Wade led the league in scoring. 2010, I think it was Kevin Durant winning the first of his 4 scoring titles in real life. I wouldn't be surprised if in this scenario, Wade leads the league in scoring all 3 of those years. Probably 30 points or better. Probably around 31 points to 33 points a game. I think his scoring goes way up. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if in Denver, Wade is averaging, in his best years, 27 to 30, 33 points a game. I give it somewhere around that range, right, with 3 scoring titles. The flip side of it is, I don't think he wins any championships if he plays in Denver. I don't think he wins any championships, and I think because of the wear and tear of Flash era Wade, even more playing in a tougher conference as the Western Conference was, I think he has more wear and tear on his body, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's out the NBA a couple years earlier in this scenario. That's something that I see when I think about it, you know what I'm saying? But of course, this is just opinion. Would the Raptors draft Carmelo over Bosh and Carmelo to the Heat? Well, one of the things I'm wondering about is, what if in this scenario, Carmelo does go to the Detroit Pistons? Because if he does go to the Detroit Pistons, then that significantly alters Carmelo Anthony's career. And I've done videos about this before, and I think other people talked about this. If he goes to the Detroit Pistons, they almost certainly win a championship still in 2004. And they probably win a championship more than likely in 2005 and maybe even 2006. So Carmelo Anthony could start off with a 3-peat for his career. And now we're talking about him in a totally different context. Totally different context. But he sacrifices his numbers. But, his game will probably be so different because he'll be under the influence of those veterans. Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, you know what I'm saying? His game will probably be different. He'll probably be a better all-around player. He still would have that scoring ability, you know what I'm saying? But his game would be a little bit different. Whereas he'll play within the confines, I think at least, he'll play within the confines of the team. And then in the fourth quarter or in certain situations where they need him to be that scorer, then that could be unleashed. And I think he'd be a more disciplined player. And I think if he was winning championships that early, I think he would have chased that feeling, chased that championship hunger. And I think he would be a different player, I think, if he went to the Denver Nuggets. If he went to the Detroit Pistons. And that's kind of how I see that. But you know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion on that. Now, if that doesn't happen, would the Raptors draft Carmelo over Bosh? Well, if I'm not mistaken, Vince Carter's still there. Man. I tend to think if that doesn't happen with Carmelo going to the Detroit Pistons, I then tend to think that the Raptors may try to draft Carmelo over Bosh and Bosh may go to the Heat in that scenario, right? So if Carmelo is playing with Vince Carter, does Vince Carter still leave? Um, you know, it's possible he still leaves because part of the problem was, Carmelo. Vince's issues predate Carmelo. You know what I'm saying? Um, a lot of Vince's issues, from what I can recall, is he just felt like the Raptors organization wasn't really appreciative of him. And, some of his teammates soured on him. They thought he wasn't working hard enough. They think he wasn't as dedicated to the organization or to the team as he should have been. And, he kind of lost respect for they lost respect for their so-called leader, man. And I just don't know if Carmelo, if anything, I think the organization would have focused more around Carmelo. And I don't know. I think it could have been delayed maybe, but I think Vince Carter still leaves Toronto. Even if Carmelo's averaging 20 points coming off the bat. Without Wade, would the Heat even bother trading for Shaq? Well, if they got Chris Bosh, I don't know if he's as impactful a player, obviously. But then again, you don't know. I don't know how that roster would have gelled around him, but do you think they go the angle of, well, let's create a new Twin Tower scenario where it's Chris Bosh? Then again, they're going to have to trade some pieces anyway. So I don't know exactly how that would work. Me personally, I don't know how that would work or how that would change. Maybe Shaq still gets traded to Miami. But it would be Bosh, Shaq, and not much else, would it? I mean, some role players. I don't see that as a championship team. I don't think Kobe and Shaq stay together though, man. I think that was pretty much at its dead. That was dead at that point. You know what I'm saying? Shaq had done too much at that point in time. At that point, he was even starting to disrespect Dr. Bus. I don't see Shaq staying. I just don't know off the top of my head where Shaq would go if it's not Miami, but some other team. I just don't see Shaq staying in that scenario. Without Wade and possibly Shaq on the Heat, does Dirk win his first ring in 2006? Well, possibly, but then you have to wonder what other team is benefiting from this altered scenario. And I just put up the Pistons. So if it's the Pistons, who, if I remember correctly, won 64 games that year, I forgot what round they got knocked out in. It might have been the conference finals. But anyway, if they got Carmelo Anthony on that team, then I tend to see possibly Carmelo Anthony winning the championship against that Dallas Mavericks squad. Getting a three-peat. And maybe in this scenario, in this series, he wins finals MVP. So it's not a lock that Dirk wins the championship in 06 because, there's other teams out there. And I'm saying this about the Heat with Bosh, right? But what if Bosh and Shaq do work out? I mean, it could be somewhat complementary. Shaq is more of an inside guy. Bosh was more of a jump shooter. Do you have maybe some other guy that joins this team that I'm just not thinking of in free agency? Maybe in '06 they make a run. I don't know. Does Lamar Odom stay in Miami? Now that I think about this situation, does Lamar Odom stay? Trying to remember, was Brian Grant still there, or did he leave, or does he stay? So maybe they could build a squad that could be compatible winning a championship. Would Allen Iverson still get traded to the Nuggets since they already have Wade as shooting guard? Uh, Probably not in that scenario. I don't think, like I said, it's just opinion, but I don't think they would be compatible with each other. Allen Iverson and I mean, because we saw kind of Carmelo and Allen Iverson weren't really compatible as much as you would think or as much as you would hope. So I don't know if AI would play with Dwayne Wade. Especially, I don't see AI wanting to augment his game as much or defer at that point. He still thought he had a lot left in the tank. I don't think so. And finally, would the Heatles not happen at all? Will LeBron stay in Cleveland, meaning he would have at least 2 less championships than he does in real life? Would Dirk have 2 chips if they still win in 2011? Do Durant and Westbrook get one in 2012? Does Tim Duncan go 6-0 with no super team Heat to face? Well, with Wade in Denver and no championships, um, unless Wade leaves Denver, which I think at that stage of his career, that's not going to happen. Does LeBron go to Miami to play with Bosh? Because I think in this scenario, Wade may leave Denver, I guess, but is his mindset, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to say. It's possible. It's possible they still could get together. Now that I think about it, it's possible because the same players, the same events might still be there. But if Wade still happens to be a free agent in 2010, he could still go to Miami. It still could happen. Now that I think about it, it's just that the dynamics are different. Now all 3 of them, or 2 of them, want to win championships because they haven't tasted championship glory. But maybe Bosh does have a championship playing with Shaq. Or perhaps all 3 of them are without championships and they conspire, and that's the motivation. And if that's the case, then it still happens. It still happens, but if none of them have championship experience, then that sets that team back, I think, quite a bit. That sets this Heatle team back quite a bit. They're not, you know what I'm saying? Because people forget LeBron James learned how to win playing with a Wade who had already won a championship, who already learned how to play winning basketball. And also, LeBron had developed more experience. So without that aspect of it, they have more experience altogether. But if they don't have that championship experience, especially Wade, then 2011 debacle still probably happens. Maybe in 2012 they still win a championship, but 2013 maybe the Spurs still win. So there's a lot of different variables in place. Honestly, I don't know if going back to Dirk, I know people want to say Dirk probably gets 2, but I don't want to forget about that possibility if Carmelo is with the Detroit Pistons. And that's another thing, too. If he's still in Detroit that team still is in the picture too. Even as they age out, you still got Carmelo Anthony. He's a different player. I think he's a better player. And people are going to want to go play with him because he's won the championships. So that team is kind of lurking in the background too. But anyway, that's how it is. You said also, if you think LeBron does stay in Cleveland, does that mean they never get Kyrie or the draft rights to Andrew Wiggins, meaning LeBron doesn't have either Kyrie or Kevin Love in 2016? Will he only get a bubble title in this scenario? Well, if he never leaves he never leaves Cleveland, then almost certainly they don't get Kyrie Irving or Andrew Wiggins, or which ultimately was the piece that got them Kevin Love with the trade. That never happens. So LeBron James probably stays with Cleveland up until maybe he goes to LA and he gets a bubble title, and that's probably it. I do tend to agree with that assessment. I think he goes to maybe a couple of NBA finals, but it won't be with Kyrie Irving. It'll be with some other players. But I think they get their ass handed to them. I think it's very uncompetitive finals, but the Eastern Conference is so weak that he gets the finals a lot of those years. But I don't know if it's 8 consecutive, but he gets the finals quite a few times. But they get their ass whooped. Then I think maybe he gets the bubble title, which nobody respects. And quite honestly, I think LeBron James will be looked upon more as like a Karl Malone type player. Without the other shit attached. But anyway, that's how I see this one, man. Tell me what you guys think.